Let's talk more before we come back to your calls on that, about that Snap YouGov poll that found that 51% of people polled thought Rishi Sunak came out on top. Keir Starmer on 49%. So very, very tight race. Rishi Sunak slightly edging it, but only just. That basically was my sort of assessment of it too. Glad to know that the British people agree with me on that, or I agree with the British people. Let's talk to Patrick English, Director of Polling Analytics for YouGov, with more on that poll. Patrick, I mean, the headlines where Rishi Sunak edges it, it's basically neck and neck, isn't it? Do we have any evidence on whether people liked what they saw from either leader? Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, so as you say, a real statistical tie here in terms of who won that debate. 51% Sunak, 49% Starmer in a poll of 1,600 people is as good as saying it's 50-50. I think that is probably, I would agree with you as well, a fair reflection of what we saw on the night. And in terms of what the British public thought overall from the offering that was given, we asked them to give us one word to describe what they saw on TV tonight, and 62% of them said frustrating. So I think that kind of typifies perhaps the mood of the British public around what they saw tonight, and perhaps indeed maybe with the election itself.
Do you agree with my assessment there, Patrick? And feel free not to, of course, that actually this is even though Rishi Sunak might have edged it, it's actually a win for Labour because Sunak didn't get the sort of commanding lead or the game-changing moment that he needed in this debate.
I certainly think you can argue both ways. It's certainly the case that Rishi Sunak has probably outperformed expectations, particularly if you look at where the Conservative Party are in the pollings right now. And indeed, if you look at that Best Prime Minister metric that we track, Keir Starmer leads Rishi Sunak by anything by around 20 points at the minute. So the fact that Rishi Sunak was level in this debate, I think is good news for him. But also, as you say, even at 50-50, even at outperforming expectations and the intrigue that perhaps brings, it's not a knockout blow. It's not a big standout moment, the kind of which that Sunak and the Conservatives will need to turn this around quickly. But, of course, not a single vote has yet been cast, and we need to wait and see how the vote intention data plays out and see if there's any changes to come over the next few days.
I mean, I know it's like I'm asking you sort of slightly predict the future, Patrick, but do you think this debate is likely to have any significant impact on the overall polls?
I think if you think back to Cleggmania, that was mostly driven by Nick Clegg's performance in that debate with Gordon Brown and David Cameron. But of course, that mostly petered out by the time we got to the election. So I think debates provide a moment of intrigue, but do they themselves shape the contests? Usually only if something really, really, really big happens. And I don't think we saw that tonight. So I'm not expecting things to move in a dramatic way. But Rishi Sunak has done a bit better. He's outperformed some of those metrics that we track on a rolling basis. So perhaps his ratings would improve. And that could mean the Conservative Party ratings improving, and that would make for a more competitive election, if nothing else at this stage.
Patrick, thank you for coming on the programme. Patrick English, Director of Polling Analytics for YouGov, with the first Snap poll